Hi, she's Trixie, I'm Sarah, and this is Our Yarn World, a place where we come to share the love of arts and crafts and all that it inspires us and blesses us in doing, and what we hope you are sharing in this as well.
Right.
With our fellowship with you, with us being inspired by your guys' creations, as well as we hope that we can pass inspiration to you or just tips and tricks or ideas. We're finally just trying to get back into the groove of things after just a really busy transition into the school year. And it looks like we might have a little bit more of a favorite new position in the house.
Yeah.
The living room is a little bit more room in the house, and my son is much less finicky about hearing noises in the living room as my daughter
Would have been.
and my daughter is now in school. So I think
We're testing the waters.
We're testing the waters here, yeah. So if you at all ever feel that this is too echoey because of too much space, or whether there's too much light or lack of light or whatever compared to our old place, please let us know.
Yeah.
Otherwise, without further ado, it's episode 31, and we have a bit to show you.
We've got a little bit going on. Well,
I'm going to be snacking, so please forgive me.
She hasn't eaten yet today,
Yeah,
so this
well,
is...
mom life, so.
Yeah. All right. So, I did have to switch colors, so it is a little darker now, but I'm still working in the sleeves, and I switched to the next color, and I don't think it's going to be too bad. I don't mind it, and if I'm the one who's going to be wearing it, I guess that's okay.
That's the important thing.
If it was somebody else's sweater, I would definitely have a problem. There wasn't enough of one color to make a whole sweater, but I knew that if I had to change it, it would be okay. And so having the arms be a different color is kind of neat. I always like switching colors anyway, even in blankets. So this is okay for me. On the other side, I just have my yarn ball until I get ready to finish this one out and start the other color. So I just wanted to show you how I did that. I just did it with a safety pin through the overlap yarn. So that it just stays, because I've got to switch. When you're going in around, you're turning your sweater constantly. And so this had to be somewhere where it was not going to sit there and unravel on me. So that's a good tip for you. And I've been working on my quilt at home also, which I'm going to let her talk for a little bit, and then I'm going to get the picture up on my phone, and I will show you what I've gotten done.
So this quilt is for my father-in-law. He has requested a Peacock Quilt. I think we mentioned that a little bit last week. And we both have been actually really busy with our sewing machines because I've been working on a lot of my seamstressing stuff, and it's something I will be showing you here soon. But my mom found this pattern of corner to corner with...
It's pretty much a strip quilt. So
pretty much what she did was she found panels of peacocks, took inspiration due to the colors, found fabrics that had those colors in it with varying degree of patterns and shades.
And ombres.
And worked with those to complement the patches and the big appliques that she got. She'll be embroidering the appliques or giving accent colors to the appliques separately. But as for this is supposed to like frame it, and it's so pretty.
And two, I am sewing strips onto printer paper, and it's the first time I've ever done it. It came to me the night before I started, and it's turning out really well. Now, you have to make sure that if you're going to have the paper straight up, that you're going across. But if you've got your paper going across, then you go across across this way. I was doing it both ways, not knowing that it was going to make a peak. I just didn't even figure it out. My husband did, though.
So based on whether you have it facing
straight up,
vertically, or if you're starting the project off with it being a horizontal angle for this pattern, depending on how you lay out the strips will change the way that the block turns out.
Yes. And we figured out that we could make diamonds. And so, I hope you can see that. There's my peacock panel in the middle, and then I'm putting just the blocks of paper together at angles, and it's turning out really pretty. And so that's all I've gotten done so far, but I think it's turning out really well. And I did buy some material, but I am using some of my own from past projects and incorporating colors that I think would complement. And I found some more last night because I was running out of gold and I needed gold. And I may have to go to the store and get more gold, but right now I have it. And so I would, because later on I'm going to be adding gold lace into each of the smallest triangles all the way around to make the eye of the feather.
Yeah.
And then in the peacock himself, I'm going to be adding gold thread
to the gold areas of the feathers, or like
hand embroidering that. So
just the gold. That way there's a bit of a glint to it.
Yeah. And to help it be quilted. And I'm going to be putting a lot of work and effort into this, but I think it's turning out pretty well so far. So I'm just hoping that he likes it and that his partner likes it too.
I think they will.
So I've got a lot of work because this is, I'm trying to make it 110 by 110. I've got batting that's 120 by 120, and I don't want to go any bigger than that. And they do have a king size bed, and I want enough overhang that it's not going to bunch up on them, that they can both be comforted under this quilt. So, yep, that's what I've been doing this week. That's why the sweater's not getting as much love as I would like to do, but I do have a paid order and I need to get that done too. So, and
as for my paid orders, so we'll start off with Pat's order again on my end. He has 2 orders with me, one of a 6 set of Christmas chair hats that are supposed to hang over the ends of his dining room set chairs.
Yeah.
And I am currently, I got done with the peak of the hat. And again, you can see that it kind of is very boxy right here on both ends for the give of where it's supposed to sit on the chair. And then this would be the overhang.
Yeah, the flap.
The flap. I still have yet to make the puff ball because I haven't made a puff ball holder so that I can make consistent puff balls. Yeah. You can make them with cardboard, and I know how to do that. I just haven't because I'm working on the rim. So what I did was I just started this project at 108 chains. And I went into a circle and I did it in the white to start off with, and I didn't do multiple rows of white. I only did 1 and then transferred to the red, just because I thought that as long as I started with white, I could work on the rim later. Yeah. I just wanted to actually really get this red done. And so far, I think that's going to work for me. I still have yet to really figure out how I want to do the rim. I have a couple of inspirations, but I'm not 100% sure. I know exactly how I want it to turn out. I just don't know how to execute it yet. But once this first hat is done, I will be sending it to him to make sure that it's the proper size before finishing the rest of the order. And then, of course, I have that Santa hat pillow I have yet to do for him. But when that comes closer, that will happen. I put the Godzilla and the Link characters to the side right now just because I have up until the week of Christmas to get those done, whereas these have to be already to him before Christmas.
Yeah,
so,
and he lives in Florida.
So I kind of have to get them done and shipped and have time, you know, especially with these hats, have time for give.
Yes.
So, the dress that I was doing last week, I had done and already given to her and have been paid for that. I am sorry that I wasn't able to actually get a photo of it, but it was just a duplicate of what the dress that she had already had. It was just a linen layer dress, and so it was pretty, very pretty and very well executed with that material that she did.
A nice summer dress.
Yes, I think that she'll enjoy it. She seemed pretty pleased with it. I am now currently working on her pencil skirts. She bought 4 different materials for me to be able to replicate pencil skirts that she has and has given to me to replicate with. And I started with this material. Of course, I was there when she bought the material. She was asking for my opinion. Nothing wrong with that. I haven't figured out my machine yet. So let's have a machine talk for a minute. I don't generally touch the tension.
I don't either.
I generally don't touch the size of the stitching either.
I don't either.
But I'm working with like spandex / knit material. And so I was thinking, okay, with any sort of, what I was taught was that when you create, generally, unless you're doing hem work, when you're doing clothing, you need to really do a zigzag so that there's a bit of a give.
Right.
There's a bit of a relax.
Yeah.
So that
and it stretches.
And that way, if there's a pull or a tug, it has more room to give that without tearing the material or ruining the seam.
Right.
So I tried that with this material. It's a bit of like a spandex material. It has a give to it. It was considered knit material, though I don't really know how. It definitely is, but like obviously it's patterned material. And it's very nice. I couldn't do a zigzag on this. Every single time I did a zigzag, it would stretch the elastic. So you know how elastic has its own room for how long it can expand. Generally, unless you want it to scrunch back, you pull material and then pull it and then sew with it and then it will revert back.
Right.
With the zigzag, it wasn't doing that. And I wasn't even pulling it. The underfoot that's supposed to actually keep the material going wasn't going as well with this material at all at the zigzag pattern. It was barely moving it. So I'm holding it and it's zigzagging and it's at full stretch capacity because it's not actually moving it because it's being yanked by the foot. So
I wonder if you use your walking foot, if that would help.
Oh.
Because that's supposed to help guide it with the feed dogs.
Okay. I would have to try that because the only thing I was able to do just to get the shape of this done was I did a straight line. I did straight.
But that was just on the edge.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's the seam.
Oh, okay.
This is what's actually going to create this skirt.
Right.
So, this material has a lot of give. So it's not like when she puts it on, it itself isn't going to be the give that it needs, but I don't want this seam to cause so much tension that it breaks. So do I go over it with the walking foot
I think so. Because it's supposed to go right with the feed dogs.
Okay. Well, we'll do that. So what it is it's just a pencil skirt, but you can see it has a bit of a curve for the hips.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a pattern that is pretty much, you do the curve, 2 panels, same curve.
Right.
And if it's the right material, it just kind of forms. It doesn't need to be on the butt or anything. It just needs to be at the hip.
Right.
No big deal. I think that this will work just fine, hopefully. Hopefully I replicated the skirt that she had properly because the skirts, I do believe was 2 panels. Yeah, both, this one was 2 panels as well, and it just had a curve in the side.
Right.
So that's what I'm replicating, but this has kind of the same stretch, and this is the skirt she wants me to replicate. So I replicated it with gift wrap, like I did,
Right.
and making my
Make
own
the pattern.
to make the pattern. And what I meant to do is I meant to fold it in half and kind of make sure that the sides were even on the pattern before I put it on the material. And I had one curve that I preferred over the other one, so what I just decided to do is I just pinned the pattern down. I cut it on that side, then I just lifted the pattern off and flipped it back over symmetrically, repinned it, and cut it. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to cut, then fold the material over in half if it's supposed to be a symmetrical thing, and make sure that it is before you start sewing. I forgot to do that step.
Oh no.
So there's a little bit of a difference on the dips.
It's not too bad.
It's not terrible. But what I was thinking was I'm going to choose which one I like. And then I'm going to fold it in half. And where I have those seams, I'm going to pin. At the bottom and the top, I'm going to pin it. And then on the seam I want to replicate, I'm gonna pin through to the other side, use my chalk, create a line to follow.
Okay.
Take the pins out and then redo it, and then that way I'll have replicated it on both sides.
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what my hope is to do, but hopefully with that I will be able to have the walking foot put on.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've sewn without it, like this sort of material.
Yeah.
So I need to be able to know what to do because the other stuff is actual knit. So I kind of have to know
Right.
when I'm like this material has a lot of forgiveness. So that's why I started with this one.
But I think walking foot would really help.
Would be the right choice?
Yeah.
Okay. And then because just randomly I was at my mother-in-law's last night, she has circle placemats. The circle placemat that she has is a woven material that is literally going in the round constantly, and so it's almost like a ribbon that was just as it grew, it just was sewn onto itself. That's kind of the way that it was. Well, one of the seams popped in, and almost the whole entire middle was flapping out of it, and it was almost to the point where it was a whole pop out.
Oh no!
Like you can see from here to there.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can see my sewing right there to there, so up from here all the way around. So last night I just brought it home and I sewed it. So because I did that, I figured I would show you. I don't know. It's just been projects, a lot of projects. I've just had this full card table out with my sew machine on it, or just bringing it out when I can and getting stuff done when the kids are asleep, and that's just been pretty much what I've been doing. This is just my life right now.
I kind of wanted to talk a little bit before the scripture about a year from yesterday. A year from yesterday, a year ago from yesterday, I had major surgery. I had mediastinal mass, so they had to crack my chest open to
A year ago yesterday?
Mm-hmm. And I had my chest cracked open to remove the mass, and they were worried that it was cancerous, and they did it really quickly, and meaning that from finding it to getting the surgery was only like 3 weeks, and then staying in the hospital for another 3-4 days afterwards. And during COVID times, you only get one person to be up at the hospital with you, and then going back to the doctor for the aftercare, after the appointment, or after the hospital care, and going in there and hearing the assistant doctor say, "I just want to tell you that mass was humongous." And I'm just like, well, that's just something I didn't want to hear. But apparently it had grown on my thymus, which was supposed to have, I don't know, somehow not
So
happened.
a thymus is something that you're born with. It's kind of like an added organ when you're a baby. There's certain things that you have that you're born with that you had in need for when you used to live in the womb. Kind of the different things that you had living in fluid.
Right.
And as you grow up, like babies are born without kneecaps, different things like that. As those evolutions happen over age, there's certain things that you required when you were younger
Right.
and
That
were a
go away.
child that actually just go away on its own. Kind of like the body just takes it and then uses it to fuel other things. It just kind of like dissipates and then is used for other things. My mom's never
Went away.
and
then
so it
Started forming other things on top of it.
it became a home for a mass.
Yeah. And so they took it out, and long story short, the cancer did not happen, so we're all happy about that. And but it just seemed to happen at a time when, you know, we were starting to. I had been in the hospital in July, and then. And then I ended up having the surgery September 15th. And it was only 5 days after my dad had died, and just so many things going on. And I had a good long think about this yesterday, and I thought, you know, I'm just going to bring this up in a video because I made it. I'm here. I am doing so much better than I was last year. When I had this done, I didn't know how I was going to tie my shoes, put my socks on, and do anything because I had never had anything like that done before. And it's a whole new life. And for a long time, I just kept telling people I'm broken. You could feel things moving, and your ribs weren't back together yet. It felt like you were broken. And I'm feeling a lot better. I still have residual pain every once in a while, but I can do things. I can lift up my grandchildren now. I wasn't supposed to lift anything above 5 pounds for a long time. And now I'm able to lift them and do things again, and back on track, and it's all over with. But I just wanted to tell you the goodness of God. He made sure that because I went into the hospital in July for a breathing problem, they did a CAT scan. They found the problem. I ended up having the surgery to take it out.
It's stressful.
If it hadn't been for that, I'd still have it in.
Don't know what problems you would have had.
A mediastinal mass can it can mess up a whole lot of things. You got your lungs in there, you got your heart, you got your esophagus, so you might not be able to swallow food. You've got your breathing airway, so you might not be able to breathe. There's just a whole bunch of systems going on in your chest that if you have a mass that's growing in there and it can start attaching itself to things, it can mess up a whole lot of systems. So I was so grateful to God that because of the breathing problem, I was able to have the CAT scan. They found it, they took it out, and I no longer have that problem.
Yep.
And so I just wanted to give a praise report that's the kind of God we live for and we serve. And it's a good time to bring in the scripture at this point. So give all your worries and cares to God, for he cares about you. 1 Peter 5:7 in the New Living Translation. Give all your cares, all of them. That all means all. It doesn't mean anything else. All your worries and cares to God, for he cares about you. And I find so much comfort and joy in that because we serve a good God. We serve a God who cares so much about us that he makes sure that even the smallest things can be taken care of. And, you know, it's a good thing to notice him in the good times, but we have to be aware of him in our bad times too. Mm-hmm. And our family's been going through some really rough waters this year, and I had to consciously be aware of leaving God in my life, not taking him out, but leaving him in, putting him, walking beside him, putting him in my life, so that if you leave him behind and you just keep going, your life just, it gets messed up way faster. If you leave him in, he can make a way where we'll never find a way. He can make things happen in a second that we couldn't take years to get resolved. And it's a time of praise and worship in my life at this point. Just keeping him in my life, listening to praise and worship music, reading my Bible, having Bible studies, talking to other people about him, and just making sure that God, or that other people know how much I appreciate him in my life.
Last year, yesterday, it was my mom's surgery. It was also my husband's grandma's birthday.
Yeah.
In this time, my daughter had her birthday party at the end of August, and she was born the 24th of August. Around that time last year, I was still living in another place, and I saw what I didn't know to be my first cockroach in the house.
Yeah.
They say by the time you see them,
Yeah.
you're already too far gone.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that's what it was. I thought it was just like a beetle or something. And I'm running in the house, getting ready for a birthday party at my parents'. I didn't know what it was. Within the end of August to just after my mom got home from the surgery, which would have been about a week later.
Right.
So what, 3-4 weeks later?
Well, it might have been a little, because from July until September 15th, so the end of July to, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks. Maybe I'm wrong on the 3 weeks. Maybe it was 6 weeks.
Yeah, I think it was 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Because it was about 3 weeks between that cockroach and my house was overrun.
Right.
It was miserable having my 2-year-old and I want to say he was like 6, he was 7 months old.
Yeah.
7-month-old. Living in that state. And not knowing if they were going to try to get into their beds. Not knowing what was going on. And my mom had just gone out of surgery. And I'm calling my brother in tears, being like, I don't know what to do. We can't afford an exterminator. I don't even know if we can afford to move.
Right.
But I can't let my kids live in this, especially when I don't even know how or what or how, like I do my best to keep my house clean despite their messes. It's cluttered. I had a lot of things in the house, but it wasn't like it was unhygienic in there. Right. And so I'm sitting there having like a breakdown, thinking that it's my fault. And my brother just said, "Call Mom. Ask her if you can spend time there until you can figure this out." And I'm sitting there being like, my mom can't even lift more than 5 pounds. How should we? She wasn't even sure if she was going to be able to see the kids for almost a month afterward. I didn't know what was going to happen. My grandfather had just died. That was the 3rd person that I had lost that year. Not to realize I was going to lose 5 more. Yeah. I didn't know. There was so much that had already happened during COVID season, and I'm just sitting there being like, God, I can't. And yeah, I took the courage and I gave her a call that night, and all she said was, "We'll make this work."
Yep, that was it right after I got home.
Like literally
Like
the day, like
3 days after I got home,
Yeah.
she called me.
yeah, and I
needed the help, and she needed the help.
and that's what we end up doing. That's kind of how that worked. And me and my babies lived in a smaller room for about a month. And in that month, we lost 2 more family members. Had a whole bunch of funerals. My kids weren't seeing their dad as regularly because someone still had to stay at our old place, despite
he was working.
Despite the cockroaches, and he still was working full time. It was miserable. It was miserable, and yet in that crazy amount of darkness, my mom was just like, I want to learn how to knit. And I'm just sitting there, and it was one random. We had finally gotten the kids to take a nap. It's like 2 weeks in. I have been calling. I finally found this place, and I have been doing all the paperwork, like making sure, doing all the calls, getting everything done. And
I wanted to learn how to knit socks.
And my mom just randomly looked at me, and she's like, I want to learn how to knit socks, Sarah. I'm just sitting there being like, okay. And I hadn't picked up a knitting needle or crochet hooks in a while.
We started watching YouTube.
And she's like, we'll find a pattern. She's like, it's kind of, you know this stuff better than I do when it comes to knitting. And I did, but it was just more of like, even though it's like once you learn how to ride a bike, you always know how to, it's just been a while still. So
Right.
I'm just sitting there being like, okay. And I picked up those knitting needles, and I've never had more of a way to escape and being able to visit with people through the camera.
Yeah.
And spend time with people that enjoy the things that I do, the same as me. Despite everything going on, I could take 10, 20, half hour, 45, an hour, hour and a half with someone, however they recorded, and share their projects with me.
Yeah, through the TV or through your phone.
Yeah, and we were just knitting
incredible.
and crocheting, and I made my first set of socks that I had done in a long time, and I learned some new ways of doing the heel turns, and I was just like,
And guess what, folks? I never made any socks.
It
never worked out for me. Crochet is my deal.
That's
And I can still crochet socks, but I'm not going to.
I still knit the socks for you.
She made me a pair of socks, but guess what? During that whole time, during those 3 weeks that she was staying with me, and I was trying to learn how to move and get up off a couch and learn how to get out of a chair and everything, and learn how to ride in a car. It's a whole different deal when you have your chest cracked. But that's when the idea came that we needed to start our own
channel.
Mm-hmm.
It was this crazy season, and there was so much that happened. So much misery. So much figuring out who the kids could be with while I tried to go through things. It was when James's grandma was going downhill fast. Grandpa randomly went downhill fast. And they died within like 12 hours of each other.
Yep.
And it was miserable.
Yeah.
We've addressed some family drama that we've had. It's a lot when it's death bringing you together than it is a wedding or a birthday party. You have a reason to be happy despite the trauma. You can focus your energy on what you're celebrating, but when it's death, it's just like, you're already in a bad mood.
Yeah.
And it was so hard trying to act like things were fine when they
were definitely not.
And it's not that we haven't made amends with certain things by now, but it's just like it's a lot.
Yeah.
And there's just I never realized the outlet. I mean, I've always been a crafter, always, throughout my whole life. I've always had some form of yarn, some form of paper, some form of material, some form of something, making something. But there's some things that you just don't even realize. God doesn't give you gifts just purely for the means to be able to take care of yourself, but sometimes these gifts are meant as tools for yourself to be able to be closer to Him. And you don't ever think about that because you're always sitting there being like, okay, I have a talent, so I can live off of it, or I can provide with it, or I can gift with it. But you never realize the gift that it is for you, that God personally made so that He could be making a closer relationship with you with it.
Right.
And I like when we were watching those videos back then, a year ago, we were one of the things that they were talking about a lot was crocheting and knitting is a very good way to meditate because it's doing a repetitive thing over and over and over again, and it can cause some of those parts in your brain to finally like calm down. It's like when kids have fidget spinners or like video games. Sometimes that's the reason why kids play video games is because it's like the same motion over and over again. It causes them to calm down. You know, it's a means to just shut other parts of your brain down and just zero in on something and just relax, and yet you're still getting something done. And so it like feeds you. It revives you.
That's
and
exactly
you're
it.
creating something.
And
you feel like you're doing exactly how the Creator inspires us to be like Him. And so there's this whole thing of like inheritance. And there's a lot of things that happened in that time. That's just a glimpse into what it was like that. And I'm not trying to like over exaggerate or anything, but we don't have the time, and it's not the time or place, but it's just no matter what, sometimes our tools are actually a means to get closer to Him. And it got us to start this channel. And that's one of the best things we've ever done. For someone who can sometimes be a lacking motivation, I have never been as productive as I have been this year. And being able to get things done because I'm like, okay, next week I want to be able to have this much done, or be able to do this,
or to show this
on there. Or be able to present my ideas, or be able to see if someone can suggest it, or can I find another channel, or what tag are they doing, how can I even be better at this. It's just it's fun.
And we find that it's partly a ministry for us too, just to be able to talk with you guys about what we find passion in, and we find passion in doing our crafts, but also in loving our God and letting Him know, or letting you know about Him. And so that's why we're here, and we're coming up on a year. I don't know exactly when. Maybe next week I'll know that date. I do have it written down at home. But this is when we came up with the idea of, it was about a year ago now. And so
I don't know when we started, because we finally moved to this place. It was after we were a little bit settled in.
I have it written down at home. I want
to say it was like in November or December, one of those two.
Well, I know we were up and running by December because I had that video of the kids opening their Christmas gifts. So
it was sometime November.
So
we're
coming up on a year.
It was either at the end of October or the beginning of November. It was somewhere in there.
So we may have to come up with a prize and see if anybody wants to start putting any comments down, and maybe we can give a prize to a certain subscriber. So
a commenter,
subscribe, hit the like button, and let us know you care. So so I'm gonna read the scripture one more time, and then we're gonna say goodbye. So give all your worries and cares to God, for He cares about you. 1 Peter 5:7, New Living Translation.
We love you guys. We hope that you guys are having a good week. If there's anything that you would like to tell us or share with us or even have prayer requests, we have an email as well in the description that you can do it privately, or otherwise our comments are active.
Yes.
You are more than available to do that. If you have any suggestions as to tags or anything that you would like us to do, feel free to request them. Any Q&As we would love to do. But yeah, otherwise we're excited to be coming up to our anniversary for this channel, and we would be really excited to be able to celebrate with you in a very special way.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna say goodbye right now, and we'll see you next week, and hopefully have even that much more done.
Yeah.
So we'll see you guys later. As always, stitch your way
To mental health.